Welcome back. You made it. Sonic Weekly, Sonic W-E-E-K-L-Y, Sonic Weekly, not W-E-A-K-L-Y, maybe. Hey, wow, what a great joke. Just like in episode 1 when we did that joke. Now here we are in season 3, episode 3. Grant is me. With me is the tech expert, the Rings of Saturn. I always want to say a word that I don't think is a word. Impresario? Is that a word?
I think you are the impresario of this podcast. And by the way, here we go, buddy. Welcome to Sonic Weekly. We're glad you made it.
And yeah, impresario. That sounds good. Okay,
who
so
else?
yeah,
Who
Sega
else is
Saturn
on the
impresario.
line?
Well, we've got out of the shadows into the spotlight from Sonic Retro. It's David the Lurker.
Hi, Grant. Hi, Bo. Yeah, that's right. It's not W-E-A-K because I can lift up to 40 pounds, which is necessary if you're doing any stocking job. It's right there. You must be able to lift at least 40 pounds.
I can lift a car in Station Square clean over my head just to go into the sewers.
That's pretty impressive. Right. Do we know exactly how much big the cat can bench press? Has that been
We know he can do his bed. He can do the car. He can do those big ice rocks, which might be more than the car, actually.
Yeah. Was Big ever a competitor in the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games?
He was in those. He was in some or all of those games. Yes.
He's not in all of them.
No.
For example, he's not in the he's not in the one on Switch.
Okay. I want to say he was. Oh, he was in some of them, right? I feel like he might have been in the DS one, Mario and Sonic, Big the Cat. Come on.
Is he playable, though? I mean, because like Toad is there, but Toad's not really playable. Is Big the Cat... Because he should be playing shot put.
Yeah. Oh, I guess maybe these are just all cameos. Man, that's
I think. Yeah, I don't think. I think Big could totally be shot put or what are the other like big guy ones?
Yeah, he could. Yeah, shot put, strongman.
How do you think he would do in breakdance?
He'd do great.
Man, gosh, it's such a shame to not have Mario and Sonic. This breakdancing would be the perfect opportunity for Big to participate against Yoshi or Waluigi or what have you.
Yeah, they would have done some funky moves, I think.
They should do Sonic and Mario Olympics, but just the weird sports like freehand shooting and breakdance.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
Grant, if you what Olympic sport would you want to compete in?
I mean, it's a tough question. Every answer I can think of, that I wouldn't be able to do. Like, for example, I couldn't do the high jump with the pole vault thing.
No,
I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to do that. And I wouldn't be able to do the, where you hand off the baton. I'm really bad at that.
I do remember batoning in elementary school during field day, where you would because you just have to run 50 feet and hand it off because you're a child and you're like, yeah, not that I sit there and think about the athletic prowess. I
remember running track in high school
during field days
and trying to do some of the baton passing relay races, but somehow always kind of getting the rhythm wrong to the point where my coach called me the R slur.
Whoa.
Which was acceptable in the mid-2000s, and
he called me Robotnik
in front of everybody. It was crazy. So I felt like, I'm not very good at that. But I was a pretty good sprinter. I wonder if who do you think is the fastest sprint? Obviously, Bo is the best overall runner. Bo runs habitually, so in any real race, Bo's winning. But like a 50 meter, 100 meter sprint might be different. Who do you think is the fastest sprinter of the three of us?
I think it's also me, but maybe not in our.
It probably. Yeah. I feel like it is. I was never in track. It was like, oh, David, you could do it. You're tall. You got long legs, and I'm like, yeah, but what if I just sat instead? And that's what I chose to do.
When you were running, even as a kid, did you imagine that you were running Sonic?
Oh, yeah. Like think about Sonic
Yeah.
while running. Yeah, like there was no way you couldn't. Same thing as I feel like most kids who were into Sonic also had the sitting in the car, looking out the window, imagining Sonic running next to you.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
definitely, anytime movement occurred, Sonic would be in the head.
Yeah.
So I could have done track because then I could have been Sonic, but it's a lot easier to sit down and just
Yeah.
play Sonic.
I'm
instead
with
of
you.
just run.
Hey, let's get to the news, David. There's a lot of some stuff happening. The big news remains: where is the movie 3 trailer? Is movie 3 happening? Will movie 3 get delayed? Will movie 3 have a trailer? Will movie 3 exist? And the answer to that is still, we don't know. But there are other things happening, and a lot of those other things did happen this week.
That is true. Like, if you want to watch Sonic characters in motion, the YouTube went, hey, we'll give you a little something. That's right. Today, actually, the day we're recording, Tales 2 made its grand. I was going to say it's not like it's gone away. It comes out once every couple months, and today was the day.
Starring
Tails
Amy and
2
Tails, and
It's starring Amy and Tails. Like Sonic spoilers. If you want spoilers, skip ahead 20 seconds. Sonic does show up for 2 seconds, but it's not about him. It's about Amy Rose. It's basically, hey, did you know we're selling these fortune cards and they're coming out in a couple weeks?
I didn't know that, but now I know it.
Yeah, it is something that not everybody knows. I was kind of aware of it.
Right. Well, on Twitter, some people involved in the creation have been teasing the deck, showing images of it over the past few weeks. I always forget about it because when we go to record, Stadium isn't reporting on it, and I don't remember any news after I see it.
But yeah, so this episode had a lot of focus on Amy's
Finding fortune with Amy,
fortune
Tales 2
cards,
number 8.
aka her tarot cards, but they call them fortune cards. And I did notice that there were comments with some hand wringing of like just people noticing the shift that the tarot cards in the last several years have become more of a prominent part of her character. And to me, it makes obvious sense because it's like there's a handful of facts that you have from Sonic CD, and it's like if you go, where do you like emphasize hammer? I feel like that's like a way overused anime trope.
It's all been Hammer before
And so
that.
tarot is at least like a unique thing.
Right.
So, and I like the way that it came out in Frontiers, and but it is, it's interesting how that shift has taken place. But I like it. I think it gives her a unique dynamic within the group. Tails is obviously tech, and so like that tech versus mysticism that Amy might have could be an interesting dynamic that didn't necessarily play out in this Tails 2, but it could. And then obviously Knuckles is power, Sonic is speed. But yeah, Tails and Amy is also a combo that I think is interesting, that I would like to see more of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like alternate world, they could have had a spin-off game together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because they both idolize Sonic, in different ways. Tails wants to be Sonic. Amy wants initially to be with them. Even like, I mean, she still would like to date Sonic, but her characterization is not, I'm just obsessed with Sonic and nothing else anymore, which is fine. But like, it makes sense. So these two people who idolize a person who has helped facilitate their individual growth, they have a lot in common. It's like when old Robins team up, like when when Nightwing and Tim Drake would have an adventure together because they were both proteges of the old Batman, that sort of thing. Like,
did I mention this
headcanon
headcanon already on the podcast? I think I've brought it up in our Discord, which you can join by emailing us, sonicweeklypodcast@gmail.com, or donating to our ko-fi.com/sonicweekly. But did I mention this headcanon last week? I don't think I did. I think it would be fun, a new wrinkle, that maybe Tails and Amy knew each other before they met Sonic. They were aware of Sonic. It's kind of like how the manga sort of was a little bit, kind of. But like maybe she's from West Side Island. We don't know. She's visiting Little Planet. She was visiting Never Lake. but maybe she's from West Side Island. Maybe
Mhm.
Sherry and Tails knew about Sonic, and they were like, and then they kind of like their dreams essentially came true. They got to meet Sonic and be his first pals. But maybe they have a dynamic. Maybe they're like the older, because we know how everybody else met. We know how Sonic met Tails. We know how Sonic met Amy. We know how Sonic met Knuckles. We know how Tails met Knuckles. Amy and Knuckles, we don't exactly know. And Amy and Tails, we do not know. So there's a story opportunity there, I guess, is my overall point.
Yeah.
I like the
They're-
idea. I think it should be an in other media thing. Have that be the second story in a IDW comic or
Yeah,
something.
maybe it's an IDW
Yeah,
pitch.
I mean,
Make it
they're
canon.
eventually going to run out of character anniversaries. Like we're getting a Knuckles special this year, right? Next year, maybe we'll get the Chaotix, and then what do you got after
do you think
that?
they count the Chaotix as Knuckles is Chaotix, or do they count it as Sonic Heroes as their origin?
I think currently Chaotix is considered canon. So make of that what you will.
Going on down to the new Tragic Highway.
New Tragic, right? They all are chilling. Although we haven't seen the classic Chaotix in any of the classic comics yet. Maybe they are waiting until 2025. I mean that's when you would do it, right? That's the Chaotix 30th anniversary. Roll them out in style. That's what I want to see. And then in '96, wait, who came out in '96?
Nights into Dreams, Sonic 3D Blast.
Bean and Bark was Fighters '96, yeah.
It was in the
Although
arcade,
like
yeah.
Fang got a miniseries and Beat and Bark were in there, so I don't know.
Well, by that time, aren't you? What year did Sonic Mania come out?
2017, yeah.
2017.
17,
Right. It was
yeah.
announced in 2016. Right, because whoa, it's also 7 years of Mania. That
I'm glad you got there because my segue was going to be from headcanon to stealth.
That's pretty good.
Oh,
It was weird on Twitter. The 7th anniversary. I don't know why 7 would be a particular number.
Momentous,
but we got a new T Lopes track that I don't think we had heard before, and also the reveal of.
Are we sure he wasn't trolling? He said it was called.
I know,
Pulp
and I was
Friction.
like, "Yeah, is that real?"
that might just be the name of the song. I don't
yeah,
think it's
that's
the
fair.
name of the level.
Because
the songs
it also
always have different
works for the
names.
level,
It's
right?
not-
Like the paper is pulpy; it's pulp.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, that's right. Is 50 some seconds. They're pretty jamming. We also got some concept art from both Christian Whitehead and Paul Veer. Paul Veer did what is this? These are some drawings of the background. Chemical Plant Zone Act 2. So there's some sketches there, and Christian Whitehead revealed that whoa, the special stages were supposed to be 10 seconds longer than they are now. It was supposed to be
and
a
the
thing where
UFOs are going to chase you.
they're gonna chase you, right? Which, like, oh yeah, it's kind of a neat idea, but it's also probably would have been a bad idea. So
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't. When I played Mania, you could just press a button and automatically level up your speed. Like, I don't know if that was a bug or a feature to make it easier, but
I think it was
I
a
just used it.
debug mode. I think it was a debug mode thing that they didn't turn off.
Yeah, well, it made those special stages a lot easier.
Yeah, but yeah, there is I guess a graphic hidden in Mania that says "Time to Escape." So now we know what that was meant to be. You gotta escape that UFO because he
There's
wants to
also
get
a
you.
poll posted on Twitter by Stealth asking, fans always are asking for a Sonic Mania 2, but what does that mean? And overwhelmingly, the respondents to the poll voted for the option that's like more Sonic Mania, but new levels, like all new levels. The other options were like the story of Sonic Mania and new old classics. No. Just you guys go nuts. Like you've got the physics figured out, the art style. We want more Studiopolis.
Yeah, I think that would be my first preference. Is just a whole slate of new zones in the style of Studiopolis and Press Garden and such. But if they said, well, the only way you can get it is if you get a bunch of remixed old ones, I would say, okay, well, don't threaten me with a good time.
Right, yeah. That would be fine
I'll
too.
take it.
Exactly.
I want to see the new version of Marble Garden Zone.
Yeah,
for sure.
Aquatic Ruin, get weird with it. Hey, have some fun. Maybe it's shit.
Put your hair down. Put your feet up,
and just let it be Sandopolis. Why not?
Hilltop, dare I say? No,
yeah.
They did, certainly played the hits, Green Hill, Chemical Plant, and such, but no Sky Sanctuary, right? That's kind of the enduring zone from Sonic and Knuckles and all other media. I want to see their take on it. I really like their remixes of the CD stages because CD is kind of a black sheep, and they brought it more into line with the others.
Wacky Workbench, Collision Chaos, those would be interesting in a Mania sort of simplified, more linear fashion. That would be cool. And yeah,
go wild. Bring in a Chaotix level.
Ooh,
and
that's
that also I think is really key. Actually, Sonic Mania 2 should use the Knuckles Chaotix thing. Because you can share the screen. You're using momentum together. Bring that concept back, but have it be a game where two people can actually play it. Because right now it's only on 32X and an emulator.
They should remake Chaotix or at least make it available on modern systems. But hot take, I think they never figured out Sonic multiplayer outside of Little Brother mode. Peak of it is Sonic Mania Tails Assist. Just give up. It's a single player game.
Just give
up.
It's we tried all the different ways. None of them work.
What if they made it like a GTA Online situation?
What if you made it like a really weird thing where, it's single player, but like on occasion the screen flashes and player 2 can give player 1 a power up, or something ancillary like that, passive. Totally optional, but there's no camera things to figure out. There's no I'm falling off the screen. There's no I'm losing my rings.
You know what has pretty fun co-op? Sonic 06, the multiplayer. It's pretty good. You go through levels together and you reach checkpoints, and you're the character and the Amigo character. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle also, I think, had pretty good.
Yeah, that's okay. I could soften my stance. Like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is kind of fun.
Right. Yeah. A little race, a little fight. It makes sense doing that, but like actual like cooperative co-op, that's where it's
never worked. Yeah.
Maybe the only way you can really do that is if everyone has their own screen.
If it's online, and you're not like obligated to stay together. I don't know why you're playing together.
Yeah, I guess you're just doing it then to have fun, and maybe there is like mini incentive, like whoever gets to the end first gets something extra, and whoever gets there last gets.
I mean, you could have like,
or like you have different goals.
Certain areas are like locked of like you need 3 out of 4 to get through to that area.
Yeah.
You need all 4.
Yeah. Right. Or maybe like there are 4 different endings, so you need 4 different endings of a level. You need to play as 4 different people. You need to split up, and you got to hope that everyone knows what they're doing.
Hey,
that requires to have, either you do it online or you need 4 friends in person if you do that, though.
And
while we're daydreaming, a new Sonic the Fighters and a Shredder's Revenge with the Sonic cast. Those are things.
I do want that.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. Has there been like a fan game sprite-based beat 'em up Sonic?
I feel like
there's been
one or two fighters.
Yeah.
Competitive fighters, I think, aren't there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's battle.
Well, yeah, there is battle.
There is,
but you meant fan games,
right? But that
right.
Right. Like, are there any fan game, like not necessarily like like a fighter? I mean, like a beat 'em up, like a Streets of Rage or a Shredder's Revenge.
There is Knuckles in Streets of Rage. That ROM, it's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
It's just Streets of Rage, but you play as Knuckles. It's pretty cool.
I think they do need to do a Sonic theme beat 'em up, just like kind of as the off year one. Sometimes they do Team Sonic Racing. Sometimes they do a collection of old things. Like the next off year one should be
Yeah,
a 2D beat 'em up, or
that makes
a
sense.
shooter. They already did that in Frontiers. We'll talk about shooters later.
Okay. All right.
Uh-oh. Just put Sonic in Halo, right? Everyone loves Halo. That show didn't just recently get canceled or anything. Well, Paramount's been having a little bit of a shakeup. I guess we could mention that the studio that was in charge of the Knuckles Paramount Plus series that was recently closed down. So we don't know if they were going to make, like, they never said we're making a Knuckles season 2 or we're definitely doing a Shadow show or whatever. Chances are, I guess because CBS television studio still exists, it's because it's all the merging and the buying and the
I like to think
Hollywood.
Knuckles show was like maybe on the cusp of being canceled, and Sherry Redstone burst and is like, "No, I'm putting my foot down. You got to make this thing." Kids are
Wow.
what the kids want to see.
That is... Oh, I was going to make a joke, but I can't remember his... Oh, okay. No, you know what? I bet the original Knuckles series was pitched by Norman Lear, right? Haha. It's going to be a spinoff of All in the Family.
Yeah, it was just going to be
so bad.
Yeah, how many? Because there was a bunch of spin-offs of All in the Family. The Jeffersons, and then out of the Jeffersons, you get there's a whole Good Times.
Good Times.
There's like a whole network of like
Yeah.
a connected universe of 70s, 80s sitcoms. And anyway, Knuckles could exist in that.
I think so. Would Knuckles work better in the All in the Family universe, or would he work in the Happy Days universe?
I was hoping we would get to the Happy Days extended universe.
Yeah, that's what you've been wanting to talk about since we started Sonic
like
Weekly.
Knuckles-
Yeah, he teams up with
episode.
with Chuck.
Yeah, I feel like Knuckles is a Perfect Strangers type of sitcom where he's the bulky character, and then he's then Wade is teaching him how to go to bowling alleys.
So you want him in the TGIF verse, is what you're saying?
Yes to all of these. Like I think Knuckles should just be like in across time and space.
I mean, why not? Because you have, like, if you want to get into the full Happy Days extended universe, there is, of course, what Fonz and the Happy Days gang, where they travel through space and time.
Mm-hmm. Mork and Mindy.
Like, why not?
Let's not
Mork and
forget.
Mindy. Yeah.
Let's not forget that Sega has a direct connection to the Happy Days universe because they produced, perhaps developed, definitely had their logo on the Fonz arcade game.
Oh, yeah. That is true. They did manufacture the Fonz arcade game, which I think was just a shameless ripoff of some other motorcycle game, as was tend to be in the 70s. It's like, steal whatever. But yeah, it is connected, which is you know what, I'm all for it. Have Knuckles be in all of them. Technically, the All in the Family verse is continuing because there is the Good Times animated series that was recently announced to critical chagrin, I think is the best way to describe the reception.
The reviewers were like racing to get out there to take bad time.
Yeah.
Good Time show.
And I mean, right. To be fair, I don't understand it because it's like, okay. Like if we were going to do some weird 70s revival animated series, I would say maybe do it in the style of a Hanna-Barbera or a Filmation. Like, just go weird. Because that's what the Brady Bunch, they were in like, what, 2895 AD or whatever? No, that was the Partridge Family. The Partridge Family was done in the future. And the Brady Bunch animated series was just the kids. The adults were nowhere to be seen.
I think that Sonic works well for a hangout sitcom. Sonic Boom demonstrated that really well. And, it's now been a while since Sonic Boom. And we're past the Sonic Boom era of things. The cast is a bit more solidified. and maybe it needs to star Knuckles like it always should have, and everything sort of centers around that. And it's just a lot of guest stars.
I think bring back Sonic Boom. We need like that model of we're gonna take a streaming service and it's gonna resurrect your favorite canceled show.
Right.
Like do that for Sonic Boom.
We need to, maybe that's what we need to do, is we need to like invent like the Crackle or Voodoo or one of the like really off-brand.
Yeah. Right. It needs to be like a really big money losing operation that eventually tanks the streamer.
Right.
But at least we get the season.
What if we call it Sega Net?
Yeah.
Oh, Sega Channel, perhaps.
Yeah. Right. Sega Channel, like that's just sitting there. Let's re-register it. Oh man, you could have all the Sega stuff on there, like the House of the Dead films. And there was a live action Yakuza film, right, before the one that the show they announced. Like they just announced a show, but I think there is some only released in Japan live action film. They never made a Crazy Taxi film, but you could put that one taxi movie that wants to be Crazy Taxi on there, right? Wasn't
Jimmy
Queen
Fallon
Latifah
and Queen Latifah? Yeah.
That definitely could have been called Crazy Taxi. I bet they wanted to call it Crazy Taxi, and then they found out there was a video game, and they're like, I guess we just have to call it Taxi.
Well, I've never looked into the development or know anything about how it happened, right? But I know, I think at one point Sega was like, oh yeah, we've sold the license to Crazy Taxi to make a movie. And then this Taxi movie comes out, and I wonder if the script was written to be Crazy Taxi, and then somehow they lost the license, and they went, might as well. Or Sega was like, this script isn't good enough. And the studio went, fuck you, it's great. We're going to remove Crazy. We don't need to be, we are definitive Taxi.
Is there a new Crazy Taxi movie in development with all of the like announced deadline variety articles of because like we know that Streets of Rage is coming. We know that, what are the other ones that are in this extended Sega universe? Yakuza, as you mentioned, like the Dragon.
Yeah, like they just did that. The
Golden Axe.
There's a Golden Axe animated series
from the Star Trek Lower Decks creator.
Yeah, that's coming. I feel like there's
more.
There is one other thing, like Sega forthcoming movies. Yeah, let's do this.
How about a weird one? How about like Fantasy Zone? How about the Alex Kidd sitcom?
I'm trying to think of what is like the
Comic Zone didn't like.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's the one. Yeah, what is like the weirdest, or maybe not even weirdest, but just which one would you, whatever. Basically, I'm setting myself up to say Bonanza Brothers, baby. Bring back Bonanza Brothers. They're robots, maybe, or that's just the art style. We're not sure, but they're brothers.
Right, I think they're just two people. Because they're brothers. They love the show Bonanza. They're the ones who kept it on the air for 20 years.
They're good guy burglars who break into places. Are they good guys? Actually, we don't know.
Yeah.
They're just burglars.
Maybe they're anti-heroes, because I think they're like Robin from Not So Great Guys, but they're still Robin.
Sega own Frogger, or does Konami?
I don't think it's Sega.
It's not Sega.
Angry Birds, I guess, is now counting.
Oh
as a
yeah,
Sega.
that's already a successful
put that on
movie
the
franchise.
Channel. Yeah, they made 2. I guess they announced a 3rd recently. Yeah,
there's still blood in that stone.
Right, they're gonna squeeze it, and then that blood will turn into oil, and then that oil will turn into a dinosaur, and then we're gonna get Sonic in Jurassic World 5. And it's going to be great. All right, you can put Ready Player One on this service. Sonic's in there for 2 seconds.
Talk about Gamescom. Gamescom is like we know that there's a Sonic. Here's what's interesting about Gamescom is that we know that Sega's been teasing that we don't know everything that they're going to show. We do know that they're showing Sonic X Shadow Generations. We do know that they show that they're showing like a dragon something or other, right?
Infinite Wealth, that series.
Double Dragon. Wait,
Double Dragon.
No, that's another game. Never mind.
But there's more. They've been tweeting and more. And what could that be?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it would
Well,
be
they're-
weird if it was a Sonic thing because it's like too many things to promote, right? Like
Right, because you've got Rumble, you've got
X Shadow, you got a
Yeah.
movie. You don't want to saturate the channel. So they said it's an unannounced thing, though.
Unannounced, right? Okay, so at the Game Awards, was it? They did that. We're announcing 5 things at once, right?
Right.
They did Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, the Golden Axe,
Golden
right?
Axe, Shinobi.
Shinobi, and a 5th one.
was it also Comic Zone?
Bad, I don't remember what. No,
Yeah,
it wasn't.
I know Virtua Fighter fans were disappointed because they had used a Virtua Fighter font,
Right.
but it wasn't
Yeah,
on
all
there.
of the
Could be a Virtua Fighter.
Right. Now, I'm trying to remember because there was, right, and they just released a Monkey Ball, so they're not going to pull out a new one, I don't think. When they did that Sega 5 announcement, there were a couple other registered trademarks that weren't in the announcement. Maybe it's one of those.
Could be one of those. It could be a
I'm trying to remember what they
Fantasy
are.
Star Online thing too. Aren't they about due for one of those?
That's true. Man, that would be fun to have like
I'm
a
trying to
PSO
look at-
classic on Switch. Hell yeah.
Let's see. Let me look up the word. Okay. Sega filed 4 trademarks of classic titles. This is from December of 2023. Altered Beast, Jet Set Radio, Eternal Champions, Kid Chameleon. So Eternal Champions and Kid Chameleon are the 2 that were not mentioned in that
already, yeah.
announcement. Wait, yeah. So there. Right. What were the 5? Let's just look at this list. Right. Streets of Rage was the 5th one I couldn't think of.
Oh, the obvious one.
Wait, let's
Right.
just
And then I guess they
can
also
you just
put in-
say the 5 altogether so I can keep track of them.
Okay.
In my
All right. So the 5 that they announced were Jet Set Radio, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Shinobi, and Crazy Taxi.
got it.
And then after that, they filed more trademarks, which included Eternal Champions, Kid Chameleon, but then there's also on this list Alex Kidd, Afterburner, House of the Dead, and Outrun, and then also Super Monkey Ball, but I mean, they released a Super Monkey Ball. So I guess if they're going to announce something new, it might be from one of those.
None of those excite me, which is a bummer.
I can't-
Out of them, I think Afterburner.
I was going to say that as well. And honestly, that is largely because of the racetrack in Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. The Afterburner stage is one of the best ones.
And that music.
Right.
God damn, that
Yeah.
is a good song.
I mean, House of the Dead is always fun, but I feel like that hasn't been missing for a long time.
Yeah, they just put out
right?
a remake, and a remake of House of the Dead 2 is coming soon.
Yeah, so I don't think it would be one of those.
Some of these could be reissues, though, or if not straight up reissues, like remakes.
Yeah, some of them could be. Yeah, I'll say I was never a fan of Kid Chameleon. I never you didn't want to play that. You wanted to play Sonic. Eternal Champions was probably a certain group who were like they were super into it at the time, and they're hankering for a new one. But and I guess like they were thinking of making, if you count the Sega CD 1 as 2, they were thinking of making a third, but all those plans were shelved once Virtua Fighter struck it big, and Sega Japan was like, "This is our fighting franchise. No more Eternal Champions."
Yeah, Eternals in quote marks now.
Yeah, so like maybe like if you wanted to try, but at the same time, like it feels like I don't know if I'd want Eternal Champions to become like Sega's Mortal Kombat, which I feel like is the obvious thing to do, but I'm also not super interested in
I'm
that.
surprised at what they're kind of leaving behind. You know, Echo the Dolphin seems like a Sega way, like you can make little arcadey games in a nice blue water, maybe open zone style ocean, like a peaceful, like a chill get
Hard.
Pardon?
It's not going to be chill.
I was going to say that this new approach has to be the opposite of the original Echoes, which are so obtuse and bizarre. I mean, it could still be that, but maybe it should be less punishing.
Let's bring back Ristar.
Yeah, Ristar.
Ooh, he's got Ristar or what was it? Tempo? Was that the 32X?
Yeah.
Was that them though? I thought that was the Red company. And isn't Echo also Appaloosa?
Oh, you might be right.
There's some that you think are Sega, but like Vector Man is Blue Sky and
yeah.
All right. But well, who owns like the trademarks? Like who owns Vector Man at the moment? Who owns Echo? Because the group that made Echo, they did a Kickstarter years ago for an Echo like successor, but it wasn't called Echo.
I think Sega does have Echo.
They might own the name Echo.
Isn't it interesting too, though, that
so Sega might own the name Vector Man?
The recent Streets of Rage 4, for example, Sega is barely mentioned there, and same with the House of the Dead remakes. Sega is, I don't even like, maybe they're in the longer form of the credits, at the end of the game, but they're not. It doesn't open with a Sega logo.
They didn't make it. Somebody else licensed it out.
They were doing a lot more of that in the 90s, though, than I was aware of, at least. Like, Next Tech did a bunch of their quote-unquote first-party games, and some other studios they worked with. Saycom, I think.
Right. Sega had a lot of fingers and a lot of pies. They had to
actually
make the whole console work.
This is like a half-remembered anecdote, but I think I learned in the recent past that Nintendo first-party didn't like actually program any of the Mario games. Like that's like a sort of second party.
And that sounds, well, I know that was definitely the case with Donkey Kong, the original arcade version, and that's why for the longest time they couldn't re-release the arcade version on like ported directly onto any home consoles. They had to, the code was owned by somebody else. So it wouldn't surprise me if Nintendo did that with other games. I just know Donkey Kong.
SRD company, whoever that is. Oh, and now Nintendo does own them.
Yeah, I guess Nintendo has enough money where they can buy whoever they want. They could buy Sega. Wouldn't you love that?
It would not be the worst outcome, although I feel like that would be the end of me playing their games on PC.
Oh yeah, that is true. I feel like it'd be the end for a lot of things, but then we might get like a fantastic Sonic game. And then definitely get a Mario and Sonic game that's not in the Olympics. Bo, if you were to compete in the Olympics, what would you want to? I asked Grant.
Do they have a hacking and reverse engineering category? I feel like that should be like
in
their
LA.
They're like, we're trying this out for this Olympics. We're not sure if it's a permanent feature yet. But.
That's right. Well, next time it's cricket is the new one. So
it's going to be one of those Bo diversions. But when I was a kid, I lived in a very small town, and we had a foreign exchange student who I think kind of expected to come to California, Hollywood, Disney, whatever. That was his picture of America. But no, he got stuck in a very small town in the Midwest. But he and his family were world champion bridge players, like best world-class bridge players. And that year in the Olympics, they were trying out bridge as like, maybe this could be an Olympic sport. And his parents, they competed in this exhibition for bridge. And this kid, he's like 14 or whatever, he's not bad himself. So in my small town, he was just dominating, winning all the money. I assume you win money in bridge with like this 60 and 70-year-old set. And he's just, raking it in. Just bridge champion there.
Wow.
Shout out that kid.
Whoever he is, wherever he is. We could probably look him up right now, see if he's still playing
Bridges.
Or if he...
This fall on CBS.
Jeff Bridges, yeah.
Jeff Bridges is Rich Bridges.
Rich. He made so much money off of the retirement crowd. Mm-hmm. And they all pinched his cheek after. They're like, "Oh, aren't you a sweetie?" And he's like, "Yeah." And now he's on the run because he competed against the wrong elderly person.
Bridge Hustlers coming this fall.
That's right.
Yes.
It's like when they brought back Marlon Brando in some random movie, and he basically played the Godfather, but they couldn't call him the Godfather because it wasn't the Godfather. Whatever that movie was called, shout out to that movie.
Kind of like how Sean Connery in that one movie. It's like a Tom Clancy movie.
A couple Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
This isn't Bond, but he was recently
Hunt for
Bond
Red.
movies.
Yeah, Hunt for Red October. It's like he's
Yes.
like Bond, but he's not actually Bond. But it's like he is Bond, but he's not Bond, but he is Bond.
Right. Or the what was that other movie called? Was it called The Rock?
Yes.
Where he's also kind of
Yes.
being Bond, but he's not Bond. Like, and the theory is, oh yeah, he's original
That's the
Bond.
one I was.
You know, if he wasn't dead, I would say bring him back and be old Bond, like do an actual old Bond. But I also get the feeling he gave up acting for a
Yeah.
reason, and that's because he was in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
And he is.
Do you think
And
he ever
didn't-
played a Sonic game?
No.
Is Sonic mentioned in Finding Forrester?
You're the hedgehog now, dog.
That's the only way I could imagine him even having Sonic on his radar. And even then, I don't think he'd remember that he actually encountered
Yeah,
it.
I'm gonna go no. He did not
Yeah.
play Sonic.
I think
in his
Gabe missed
lifetime.
him.
Yeah.
I think he wouldn't care to discern any details of video games. It would just all be one big blob to him.
Yeah,
He's like, "Oh,
kind of annoyed
yes."
by it.
Yeah.
The video
But
game.
we do discern the details.
Mhm.
Right, Bo? What's going on with Rings of Saturn this week?
All right, so I teased this earlier. Remember when I mentioned shooting games?
Yes. It was
so
sort
this-
of ominous.
You remember? Yeah. Well, you remember last week I talked about I found a cheat code that would allow me to progress in this game that I was really bad at. But I did it again. It's not a cheat code this time, but this is for the Taito shoot 'em up game called Metal Black, which not a big audience in the U.S., but is influential among shoot 'em up connoisseurs. So this is a game where you're dodging these projectiles, you're shooting your own projectiles, you're upgrading your weapons, and there's this story about the far future. Aliens have come to conquer the world, but they haven't quite done it yet. There's like kind of a truce, but like everyone's not really super satisfied with the truce. And this one rogue guy, he jumps in the only ship that can stop the aliens, the Metal Black. And is he going to make it? Is he not? I don't know. I can't get out of the first level, except now I have hacked in the debug mode that lets me skip to the last level, see the end of this game. And the end is like really weird. It's like kind of the psychedelic thing, and then the world breaks in half, and then maybe it was all a dream. I'm left with more questions than answers, but at least I've now experienced it.
Okay.
Cool.
So that's what's got you in orbit this week.
That's what's in orbit this week. It's a classic shoot 'em up game. The only Sonic shoot 'em up thing is the final weird battle in Frontiers
Yeah.
against the
Right.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Well, I guess Cosmo Fighter is technically a
Oh, there you go.
shoot 'em up. Yeah, technically.
And I guess you kind of have that in the Fantasy Zone part of Superstars.
Yeah, you're right.
That's a cute 'em up, as
It's a
the fans call it.
Okay, so let's take a look now at the mailbag. We've been able to do this weekly. You can email us, sonicweeklypodcast@gmail.com. You can leave comments also on our YouTube videos, like this one that we're going to read from last week. So we were talking about Sonic Superstars versus Sonic Frontiers. AE Double says, let's see, should I read this whole thing or just summarize it? We're going to summarize it. They say, I'd rather know what set of bosses from the Sonic games do people actually like for comparisons, as I know people called them the weakest point in any Sonic video game. For example, nobody called Sonic Generations the worst game made because of the Time Eater boss, but they really do hate that boss. So that's a good point. Thank you for that comment.
Shout out to AE.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, it is true. I think it is a truism that the bosses are sort of beside the point, but that doesn't mean they're not creative and enjoyable in their own way. And I think the Superstars difficulty did reveal that there is a delicate balance to those classic. I mean, even Sonic CD doesn't really get it, and certain parts of Sonic 2, Sonic 1, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, they don't all nail it. But which ones do?
Or which ones are good?
The one that really stands out to me the most is the one that I would actually just like drag out and play poorly so I could do it more, which is the Sonic fights Knuckles in Sonic and Knuckles in Hidden Palace.
Yeah.
And I think that's the ultimate test of like, is this a fun thing? Is, do you want to keep doing it? And yes, my answer is yes. Make that fight longer.
Yeah, that was so cool. In a way too, that like, I feel like the fight against the characters in Sonic Adventure were not as cool, but in the sprites in Sonic and Knuckles, it felt very epic. And also it felt like the conclusion to like a long running storyline at this point.
Yeah. You were building up all year for that fight. Sonic 3 comes out in February. You're waiting until October to finally fight Knuckles. Yeah, and there's weight to it. The adventure fights are just
miscommunications.
I guess right. It's glorified cutscenes. It takes 2 seconds to get through them. They just went, oh, here's content. But that fight does feel
it's
real.
The first time you get to hit him back. He's been getting all these cheap shots on you.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, because when I think about bosses, maybe it's almost, I think the ending bosses in Sonic and Knuckles, like the Death Egg, Act 2, whole Gauntlet, and then Doomsday Zone as a whole. Like, essentially that's just one long boss fight. I think those are also really strong. There's escalation, things change up. You never, I know like the laser beam can be funny, and also I think the timing is slightly off in the Origins version. But like, it's still, it really felt like, hey, this is what you've been working towards, and it is that sort of, I mean, the I guess the third act of Sonic 3 and Knuckles as a whole is just so strong and so great, and it's all because like that's what you're getting to.
We'll go 3 for 3 for Sonic and Knuckles, because I think the final boss in Knuckles' campaign is also one of my favorite bosses. I love the Master Emerald Angel Island literally hanging in the balance in the background, and you're fighting Mecha Sonic, who is powering up with the Master Emerald. Like, that's paying off so much stuff with the Knuckles side of things. And it feels very cohesive to everything, and it feels like the right conclusion for the Knuckles portion, like a redemption, I guess, because he's been such an asshole throughout the Sonic 3 and Knuckles main campaign. But then the Knuckles second quest is like he's cleaning up his own mess. He's getting rid of Eggman's robots, and now he's got to take down the actual evil Sonic, which is Mecha Sonic.
I think, yes, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I think, takes the trophy there. I do want to give Sonic CD, I think, like all the bosses there, 3 hits I don't think is the right number. But 2 clever ones are the bubble one, the one where you got to get all the air bubbles first, and the Metal Sonic Race. So both of those are memorable and things I enjoyed as a kid. It wasn't like performing poorly to drag them out, but good job.
Yeah, they're fun little twists. I mean, the bubble one, it's like, he's one hit technically, but you're gonna have to do 20, and I mean, that race, I know there's a part of me that was like, oh, why can't I just hit him in the head? But you know what? It is, I think it's more fun because you hit everyone on the head. Metal Sonic, that's not why you're going to fight him. He wants to be Sonic. What is Sonic's main feature? It's running. So of course it's going to be a race. It makes so much sense.
I think that race actually got an upgrade with the drop dash and Origins. Like, that feels really right.
Getting air off of the slopes is nice and fun and cool. It is interesting. You can hit Mecha Sonic in the head, but you can't hit Metal Sonic in the head. Folks, they have differences. They are not the same robot.
That's right. Yeah, because I never go, oh, Mecha Sonic and Sonic 2, that's where it is. Because now it takes 2 seconds to get through.
You know what game also has strong bosses, I would say, is the Birthday Boy Sonic Mania. I think a Sonic boss is marked by it. It just needs to be clever. It doesn't need to be difficult. It needs to be like so. One of my favorite bosses as well is the Puyo Puyo Eggman's or Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine in the chemical plant.
Yeah, that's one of my only 2 laugh out loud moments in all of Sonic. Is I didn't know that was coming, and then
Same.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the first time I saw that, I lost my mind. I was like, it's
They
really
did it.
happening.
They made
Like,
it,
what is
yeah.
this? They did it. Oh. It's like, wait, does that mean Mean Bean Machine is canon? Well, no. AOSTH is still where it takes place. But listen, those beans from Beanville, who knows? Who knows what they're doing with their time?
And one other honorable mention, I think, is Casino Night in Sonic 2. I think that's the strongest boss in that game.
Yeah, that is really fun to be able to roll around on the walls. It's difficult, but it's satisfying when you feel like you've got a pretty good handle on it. But do you ever really have a very good handle on it? Like, there's still a lot that always feels a little up to chance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of like pinball in general, right? Like, yeah, you can be really good at pinball, but sometimes that ball's going to do whatever it wants to do. Even though technically, hey, it's not gambling. It's just a game. Shout out to the New York City lawsuit that made pinball
Pinball's not a crime.
Pinball's not a that's right. It's not gambling. It's amusement.
One more order of business before we're out of here, and that is the Ken Penders update, David.
Oh, right. I did say, hey, what's going on with Ken Penders? I probably should have pulled it up. Ken has been, of course, talking. He always talks. You know, he's back from Comic-Con. He's been chilling out.
Feeling confident.
What he's recently been talking. He's been being very confident. He's been talking about the Ken Penders Knuckles Omnibus Volume 1. He put up the prototype cover, I guess is what he called, where it's just basically it's an image of Knuckles that he drew recently on some Photoshop imagery, and the background is from a Knuckles cover. He's like, it's coming out. He's listed what's meant to be in Volume 1, although he hasn't completely decided how deep it's meant to go. He's just like, it's at least getting through issue 6 of the main series, and it's all the short stories and stuff prior. He is he says it's either going to be 2, 3, or 4 volumes depending on page count. I'm looking at the extra features when figuring this out, such as foldouts featuring 3 cover images printed as 1 complete image. That idea by itself, I think, is really neat. It's like, Superman 75, that ending page, the fold out, and it was like, whoa, that's cool. And they recreated that in the Death and Life of Superman omnibus. But, I guess we'll kind of see, because he's also been tweeting about like, oh, some of the colors are changing. And he said like it's being recolored to match the games more than the original printing, and that sort of thing I don't like.
I don't like any of the recolor stuff. Like, give me the original.
Yeah. One of the things that always bothered me about the Archie Sonic Archives reprints, they decided to recolor them digitally and give them all like that sort of shading.
They're terrible.
Yeah, they don't look right. He's not doing that, but he's definitely like, oh yeah, we're fixing some of these colors. And I'm like, no, you're just going to make it different. And that's, any sort of reprints, it should be like, we are preserving what it originally was. You can add extra content, or if you like do a director's cut or something, like extra stuff, that's fine. But it should still feel It's something that kind of bothers me about comic reprints in general. Like if they're reprinting 60s, 70s, 80s, sometimes they get a little out of hand when it comes to digitally recoloring them, and it just doesn't look right anymore. Even when the original creators are involved, like the Killing Joke reprint, like at some point they recolored all of the Killing Joke, and it doesn't look right anymore because they went, okay, we're making the colors different, and it changes the mood, it changes the feeling. Neil Adams did this with there's a Neil Adams collection of his Batman material from the 70s, and like he went back and recolored them, and it doesn't look right. So even
Lady who
it's
did
because-
the Jesus painting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fix it. It looks no better
Yeah.
than that to me.
No, like sure, maybe you've improved over the past 20 years, but like it was printed, it was released a certain way, and it should be about even if you want to make changes and alterations, there should be it's like the original Star Wars trilogy should exist. You can have the special edition and the original coexisting because we are in a world of digital technology, and you should be able to seamlessly flow from one to the other however you want. But the original should always be available because that is what was commercially available, and that's what people grew up on. And if they want to re-experience it, that should be the option. And when things are changed too much, also, I don't know how he's going to get away with having Knuckles on the cover.
Yeah,
I
it seems
don't think-
unlikely.
That's something I feel like he's going to change. He has talked about that he's removing the Archie logo on all of the covers that are going to be in this omnibus. The Archie logo is in the Lara Sue Chronicles, which tells me someone from Archie gave him one of Archie's lawyers gave him a strong worded letter, and he went, okay, let's remove the Archie logos, because even the TMNT Adventures reprints from IDW remove the Archie logos from those covers. So it makes sense. But
Archie bailed their lawyer out of the drunk tank. He sent a letter.
Yeah. But also it's the sense of like, oh, you can't put like new content in there. You can't write a new Knuckles story. But if the cover has a new drawing of Knuckles, which is what it is, I feel like that's gonna get him in trouble. It's I don't know. I feel like the only safe way to do these covers is just have characters in silhouettes, don't even draw them, or just have it be symbolic, like there's a fist, or it's just Julie Sue, or something. Like if
I
Ken
think we
wants
are-
to walk in this thin line.
We're neglecting the possibility that Sega and Paramount and everybody else who has a stake finds this
Mhm.
just as amusing as we do. Like,
Oh,
And
Maybe.
that it may just be not worth the legal cost. It might be like
Right.
too small of a fish.
maybe. I guess because also the only place you can buy any of this stuff is from his website or at his table at Comic-Con.
they're like, we don't
They're-
go
they're-
after fan artists. He's a fan artist, and
I mean,
they're
we're not
yeah, I mean,
Nintendo.
yeah.
yeah.
That's why
But,
Nintendo should not buy Sega.
Yes, but if Ken's going to go through with it, I want him to do it in the best way possible, because I just want the comics themselves to be preserved as best as they can be. And Archie wasn't doing it perfectly, and I want Ken to, but at the moment it doesn't feel like Ken is. He's closer than Archie, I think, but well, I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's the Ken Penders update. Lara Sue Chronicles Beginnings available now.
And
Buy
that's
it.
Sonic Weekly. That
Maybe.
covers it. So back to you, David.
Oh. As I took a sip of water. Gasp. That's right. We are at the end of another episode of Sonic Weekly. You can tell because the music just started in your ear. Yeah, it's that chill sound. You can hear the plucking of the guitar. And of course, there's another instrument coming. Oh, right, that's like a harmonica. Yeah, like Stevie Wonder. He's a master of the harmonica. And if you want to master the harmonica, well,
Practice.
while you're practicing, you could be listening to Sonic Weekly, like you just did. And what's the best way, hey, if you want to hear more of this, if you enjoyed it, there's always the simple things to do, which is, of course, subscribe to the podcast on your podcatcher of choice, be it Apple iTunes, be it Spotify. If you only use your Android devices, use Podcast Addict. That is Sonic Weekly approved. It's Bo-proved, I think. Is that the word? Yeah, you can leave a review in those things. You can rate it 5 stars somewhere on one of them. It's great. But hey, if you don't even want to deal with pod-catching apps, we are on YouTube as well at Sonic-Weekly, which it features this audio and gameplay footage recorded by friend of the show, Jack of Old Games. And you can watch something while you listen and while you're trying to practice out that harmonica. Or maybe you're just going to guitar it up. You could guitar it up. Hey, you can always reach out to the shows that was mentioned, Sonic Weekly Podcast at gmail.com. Drop us a line or drop a comment on the YouTubes and, let us know what's going on, how you're feeling. We have that mailbag. We'll crack it open. We'll read it. You can send us an email and ask for a link to the Discord server where you can chat with like-minded Sonic the Hedgehog fans. But you can also get that link if you throw in a tip in the jar that's known as Ko-Fi. Ko-Fi.com/Sonic Weekly. Is it Sonic-Weekly? Sonic Weekly. I forget now.
All of the links are in the description. You don't have to use your rotary phone.
No, that's what I do. I call up. I'm like, hey, how do I get in there? I press 9 for information. I press O for the operator. Yeah, it's a good time. So if you like it and you want to help support the show, help support, because this isn't free to host. So if you like it that much, you throw in a couple dollars, we'll enjoy it one time or a membership fee. Either way, it's a good time. You don't have to. You can enjoy it as free, and just let other people know you like it. Hey, you know what? The song's over. The show's over.